All right, tracking CQMs. Why is it important? So CQMs, or clinical quality measures, are a group of measures that the government, federal government, CMS, Medicaid, Medicare, have come up with to track clinical quality measures, measures that you track to keep track of your patient care, to improve patient care, and to be able to demonstrate how you're improving patient care in your clinic. If you participate in MIPS, MIPS is the Medicare Incentive Program that will reward you for completing multiple components of the program, and one of those components is the clinical quality measures. And this is actually the biggest component of the MIPS platform. It's 45% of your overall score. There's 3 other components in MIPS: promoting interoperability, improvement activities, and cost. And amongst the 3 of those make up the other 55% of your overall score. If you're not familiar with MIPS, if you're not sure if you need to participate in MIPS, there's ways that we can discuss or let you know how to do that. But tracking your measures, if you participate in MIPS, is very important because it does contribute to the overall score. And if your score is too low at the end of your reporting period, right now the reporting period for 2021 is the full calendar year. If at the end of your reporting period you do not have a score that the government is asking for, then you could be penalized on your Medicare payments, not the following year, but the year after. So if you are participating in MIPS for calendar year 2021, your overall score is not where it needs to be. For 2023, you will receive a penalty from Medicare on your Medicare reimbursements. So tracking your CQMs is a big component of that. And it's very important to make sure that you're doing that so you don't receive that penalty. But what if you're not participating in MIPS? A lot of practitioners don't have to participate in MIPS. They've looked on the website, seen that their NPI doesn't require that they participate in MIPS. But do CQMs have any importance to those practitioners that are not participating in MIPS? And the answer is yes, possibly. A lot of private payers are now tracking or requesting the CQM information, not as much as the government. If you're participating in MIPS, you're required to report on 6 different quality measures. And depending on how you report those, will determine which ones you get to choose from. But private payers, they may ask for 1 or 2 measures, results for 3 measures. And what this can do for you is increase your reimbursement from that private payer. So encourage everyone, even if you're not participating in MIPS, or even if you are participating in MIPS, also connect with your private payers. Ask them if they are incentivizing or giving higher reimbursements for MIPS type scores or MIPS type components, specifically CQMs. You could be in line for a higher reimbursement. But what's the other part of CQMs? So if you're familiar with CQMs, you know how much there is involved with tracking that information and making sure that the information is entered correctly. But as it says here on the screen, your time is limited, and trying to track all of those CQMs, trying to make sure that you're getting all of the components right, trying to make sure that your team or your staff are entering the information correctly, and taking the time to compile all that information, collate all that information, calculate it so that you can get a real-time score, really is a very time-consuming prospect if you're doing it on your own. And that report that reflects down to the next on the next topic, the inability to track your progress can hurt your CQM score, which, as we've talked about, can hurt the financial outlook of your practice if Medicare is a large payer, if you get a large amount of reimbursements from Medicare, you could be penalized. I believe the penalty now is somewhere between 7 and 10%. It had, at the beginning of MIPS, the penalty had started out as like a 2% penalty or a 3% penalty, but it's been, MIPS has been in progress for a long enough time now that the penalty is significant. The other thing is that the reporting period for MIPS and the reporting period for a lot of these private payers is the entire calendar year. And so you want to get started as closely as you can in the beginning of the calendar year, because ultimately, if you start later and later in the year, you're working against the information that you put in at the beginning of the year. So if you start now, it's the beginning of the second quarter, you have plenty of time to make sure that your scores are where they need to be by the end of the reporting period, which is December, because you have only entered a quarter's worth of information up to date. But if you wait until July, August, September, you've entered 3 quarters worth of information in your EMR. You may not have been tracking these CQMs at all. If you haven't been paying attention to the CQMs, you're not going to know if you've been entering the information correctly, if your score is where it needs to be, and having to try to correct that or bring those numbers up with only 3 or possibly 4 months left in the year is, again, a very daunting task. So we always recommend, if you're participating in MIPS or if you're going to track your CQMs, start as soon as possible to give yourself the best opportunity to get those numbers where they need to be.